Hello. Okay, so this is not live. This is recorded because I found I had a problem. I don't know if any of you have the same problem, but there's two problems and I'm going to do two separate videos for the problem. So, the issues are my camera keeps shutting off while I'm filming. So that doesn't do me any good. It's got a timer set in it, and I needed to be able to update that. Well, I couldn't update that because it didn't have the area to update it in the menu as I was following an instruction from a YouTube because that's where I go for everything. Isn't that where you go for everything? So I went there, and of course, there was several that said check your firmware and see what your firmware update is. And I went, light bulb. I haven't done a firmware update ever. So, which reminds me, I need to check on some of my other equipment and see if there's updates now. So I decided I'm going to find out how to do a firmware update. So I went to, and I'm going to share my screen with you so you guys can see. And so I went to YouTube, of course, because where else do you go? Because YouTube has like everything. And I found all of these ones here. Some mention the D610, like these ones. Now, this one is just telling you that there's an update. It doesn't give you any information or help you on how to do it. And then you have a couple that are pretty detailed. And this was my favorite right here by Steve Perry. It was really, really good. I mean, he does have 118K views. So that was a year ago. So the problem I was having, and that's why I went and saw several others because his was very good, very detailed. Um, and I'm going to do similar so that you guys can get the gist, but you can go here if you want to get a little bit more information. So anyway, so let's remove that real quick. And what you need to do is go to this website here. Let me pull it up real quick. Okay, so you need to type in here Nikon Download Center. So right here, Nikon Download Center. And you're going to go to, it's downloadcenter.nikon, whatever. I will put the link in the description. So I will make sure to copy it right now. Anyway, so then you type in your product right here, the D610. Okay, D610 and search. And then there it is, and firmware. And my firmware, like I said, has never been updated. So it's 1.009. So it has been updated several times since then. So then you're going to download it. And that is a big part of it. So you need to download it. And it already recognized that I have the Windows operating system. There is some other information you can get from here that explains some of that stuff. I'm not going to go into details with that. I had a problem with the download part of it and how it works. So this is an application. I even changed it at one point in time to go all files, just in case I don't need all files. I need applications. So I went here and I downloaded it and save to my downloads. And then I actually went into, well, I didn't. I did it from here, but I am going to go ahead and I am going to pull that and I'm going to put my downloads. I'm going to put my downloads into that folder. So I'm going to move that so I have it over here. And I go to my downloads. And I'm going to move that whole folder into this folder. Okay. So you can open it up and you can see it here. Okay. So that's the folder. So now when you click on it, like all the instructions said to do was to click on it and the folder will open. And I cannot for the life of me get it to do that. it wants you to run the exe. And I cannot I cannot make it open a folder. I can't do anything else. So I could not. And then so I did try to run it, and you go into the camera, and if you follow their instructions, it says to turn it on, go to your menu. Now, I'm not going to go through every little step with you, because if you really want to watch that, Steve Perry has a great one. But you go into your menu and you go into your setup menu, and then you're going to go to your firmware version, click on it, and it'll tell you what firmware version you have. And it'll be like mine was 1.00 whatever. And you know that it's there. So the first thing that you are told to do is go and take your memory card and put it in and format it to your camera, which is great. And you also should go into the camera settings, which is the shooting menu, and you should go and see roll played. On my camera, it says roll played, not primary. So roll played is what is slot, because I have, let's pop this open. There are 2 slots in this camera. Okay. So you want to know what slot 1 is and what slot 2 is. Slot 2 is my overflow and backup and JPEGs. So if I take a still, but slot 1 is meant for movie or film or video, whatever you want to call it. So you take your SD card and you format it. Then you pull it out, turn your camera off, and they do tell you to take your lens off and do not have your lens on while you're doing this. Then you turn the camera off, you've got it formatted, and then you put it in your card reader, and you are supposed to save the file. Well, mine always wants to load pictures and stuff. So you want to double click on it to open the folder. There's no folder. It just wants to run. I put it on the SD card like that, put it in the camera, and it still says firmware, doesn't say any update. Okay, I tried to run it on my computer, seeing that if it would pop up on my computer, would it open a file? So it wouldn't. So what I ended up doing was I cheated, and I have 2 SD cards that are for my camera. These are dedicated for my camera. They don't go in anything else. They're 128 gigs, so they're not tiny, but they're not huge. Okay, so what I did to cheat was and I'm going to make this screen bigger for you. There you go. Actually, I'm going to make it all the way big. Well, that doesn't make it much bigger. So what I did is I took the folder, since when you double click it, it just wants to run. Well, it can't run like that, because as they explain to you, it needs to have a bin. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to drop it into my camera. Then I'm going to pull it open, and you see it, DCIM, it dropped in underneath of it. Inside the disk, if I double click it, it pops up with the folder that you were supposed to have on your computer. Then it has updates. So you can't put this into your camera, because that's what you're supposed to do. You got to put it into your camera. And it said on several of the different ones that I watched, said do not have anything else on there except for this bin file. And when I had everything in there, and I did, because I couldn't do it any other way, I put the whole thing with the bin opened into my camera, and I went to the firmware update, and it just said what I had and done. It did not have the where it said on there that update, yes, no, done, whatever. So what I did is I took this folder and I moved this folder to that one. Okay. So this is no longer in my Nikon SD card, sorry. It's no longer on the it's on the SD card, but it's no longer on the SD card in a second. So I took it and put it there. And then I have my other card. Remember, I have two. Um, so being that I have two of them, let me go back here. Okay, so remember, since I have two of them, I have that on there. Now I put it onto my computer, and if you see in my computer folder, I have the bin and the full thing. So I have the bin separate there. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to take that right there, and now I can format it or eject it. I'm just going to eject it. And then I am going to make sure, because I don't remember if I formatted my other card again or not. So I'm going to go in to the menu, and I'm going to go to the settings, and I'm going to format the card. Slot 1. Yes, format. Now it's formatting that one. So that's my second card. Format's complete. Now I'm going to take that one, and I'm going to put it back in my little card reader for my computer. And now that's going to pop open and want to do all this crap again. Okay, so now that's going to pop open, and here you go down here. All right. So now you got that right there, and they wanted you to drop it right below. Okay. So now I have this folder here where I dropped it, and I'm going to pull that bin, and I'm going to drop it right underneath. And then I had it in both. So I have it on my computer in that folder that I made on my desktop, but then I went and just put that single bin file into my card reader. That is all that's on there. So then when I popped it out, now we're going to go back down here, and we're going to eject. I always eject. I don't know that you always have to. Some people do, some people don't. I was told a long time ago you should do that just so you don't corrupt something. So I don't. So now I don't need this open anymore. So I took that, then I put it into my camera. You put it in with your camera turned off. And I'm not going to do this again because I just did the update. So you put it in with your camera off, and then you turn. I'm going to go through the steps without it being in there. Then you turn your camera on. Then you go to your menu, and then you go one up, go backwards, one up from your format, and you go to firmware version, and it now said update. And I was able to update it, and my camera now says 1.04 instead of 1.000 whatever 9 or whatever. So I was able to update it, but I had to go through a couple of extra little steps to get it onto there, because every time I put it where it was just in the whole thing as an execute, it wouldn't do anything. It would just sit there and say done already, done already, done already, and I could not update it. So it was very frustrating. Now remember, like all the other people say, when you are doing this update, make sure to leave your camera on while it's doing the update. Don't touch it. Don't do anything with it. And don't forget, like it said in the beginning, don't have your lens on while you're doing the update. And I have it on a AC/DC adapter. So now I'm going to go and figure out, now that I've got the update done, now I'm going to go format the card again. And I'm actually going to go on my computer before I format it on my, because I don't want to accidentally do something by having the same execute or the same bin file and send it twice. So I'm going to go and I'm going to format it on the computer, and then I'll go back into the camera and format it on the camera. And then I can go and hopefully be able to tell it that I want to do something with the timing, and not have it shutting off. But I can figure that out now that I've done a firmware update and had that little hiccup of not being able to just put the folder, open the folder, there it was, and put that on the SD card. So if any of you ran into the same problem, and it may be the same issue for your D810 or 850 or whatever numbers you have, I've gone from the 500 to the 610, and then I have a couple Canons and some other ones. But this was an issue, and I really was frustrated with I can't get it to update, and if I can't get it to update, and man, was it old. So I really needed to update it. So if you ran into the same problem, now hopefully you have a solution. If you do have any questions, please send me a message, and I will put this in the updates. In the description, I will put the links that I had for the Nikon and the links to the YouTube shows that I had on there. So again, that was Steve Perry that had the best one, and hopefully mine kind of adds just a little bit more to it. But please watch his. His goes through the whole description and shows you the screenshots. I didn't do that because he had all that information. I just had an issue with the SD card, which I just showed you on screenshots on how to fix that. So I hope that helps if you have a problem with that as well. As always, happy filming. Bye.